Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power of Your Mind podcast. You are listening to episode 255, Believe to Achieve Confidence and Manifestation. I'm Jim Kellner, comedy hypnotist, and I am co-hosting once again for the amazing #1 best-selling author of The Practical Law of Attraction. She's also the author of Ultimate Weight Loss Power, How to Manifest Your Soulmate, and the founder of HipTalk.com and HipCloud apps, the premier online destination for hypnosis recordings with over 500 recordings to choose from. HypnoCloud offers you solutions for people from all walks of life, guided meditations, affirmations, hypnotherapy, all to help you with the law of attraction, manifestation, business success, stress, anxiety, sleep issues, so much more. Be sure to download it today. The goal of this show is to inspire you to dream big and live your best life, as every week we discuss how to use manifesting, affirmations, meditation, and hypnosis to help people create the life of their dreams. So if you're ready to start manifesting your best life, join in and let us help you tap into the power of your mind. Everyone, please welcome Victoria Gallagher.
Hello, Mr. Jim Kellner. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. And I was just, if you're ready to start manifesting your best life, I just saw you had posted a review for the show that somebody was very excited about the show.
Yes, yeah. People are really enjoying tapping into the power of their mind with both of us. It's fun for me that, like we've evolved to having this host co-host relationship. And, when I hear people say, oh, and you and Jim, and they love you just as much as they love me. So
Awesome.
yeah. And, you're up to some big things. Why don't you tell the audience, what kind of cool things you're up to, even though, this is going to be like aired, sometime in May, I guess.
Right.
Some of these things might be in the past, but you never know. Things may come up where maybe you have these where they can tap into later on.
Good point. So, yeah, that's a great point. This weekend, and actually we're in March right now, it's going to be March 11th and 12th this weekend. We've got the Performing Hypnosis Online Summit. And, like we were talking about before the start, we have like some incredible names from the performing hypnosis side of things. We've got Marshall Silver is speaking, Terry Stokes, Tom Silver, Anthony Gailey, Jim Sellis. I mean, guys that are just legends, and frankly, just can't believe that we were able to get them to do this event. And there'll be videos available. So if folks want to, take advantage of that later, they can go over to performinghypnosissummit.com. And then the other one, I'm like an event producer now, I guess. I'm also, and that one's I'm doing with Grant Saunders, brilliant UK hypnotist, and then with Anthony Gitch, I'm doing the P&W, the Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference, June 3rd and 4th, here in the Seattle-Tacoma area.
Yeah. So if you are in the Seattle-Tacoma area, then, by the time this comes out, it's about a month away or less for you to go ahead and sign up for that. And you don't have to be a hypnotist to go to a hypnosis conference. And if you are, and you're close by, then I highly encourage you to go check that out. I just came back from an amazing hypnosis conference in Florida, the ICBCH, with Richard Nongard and Jason Lynette. And they gave me this fabulous opportunity to be the closing keynote speaker, which, it's the first time I ever gave a keynote speech. And I had to tap into the power of my belief to pull that off and to know that I could, it was probably like the most people I've ever spoken in front of, or at least the most hypnotist that I've spoken in front of. And, it's kind of an interesting thing, when you're a hypnotist and you're speaking to a group of hypnotists, because most of the people that I train, most of my clients are not hypnotists. Most of them are average everyday people wanting to learn about love, law of attraction, weight loss, all the, big things, and attracting more money, all of that. And when you're talking to a group of hypnotists, it's just a different level already. You have to really, I think you have to up your game because,
Yeah.
you got to teach people at a whole different level that already are kind of like at your level. So it's like, oh, what am I going to say that's going to inspire people? But I somehow must have said something inspiring because, they all stood up and gave me a standing
Yeah.
ovation at the end. So that was pretty cool.
Amazing. And I gotta say, I'm surprised that that's your first one, because I mean, you're Victoria Gallagher, for God's sakes. I can't believe,
Right?
and I'm only kind of halfway tongue in cheeking that. I mean, really, I am surprised that, and so I'm glad that they gave you that opportunity, and they took advantage of the opportunity to have you do that.
Yeah, yeah. It was very cool. And speaking of today's show episode, it was about, and sort of in step with my app, I spoke about the power of believing in yourself. And I talked, a little bit about just like my life story, but like kind of went back even further than what I normally talk about, in the public. So it was a story a lot of people hadn't even heard about before, but that'll
Oh,
be for YouTube. I'll be posting that
oh,
keynote
cool.
speech on YouTube.
Right on. And you know, and I love the title of today's show, Believe to Achieve, Confidence and Manifestation. And it's so important. So many people don't believe in themselves. Can you just kind of, maybe you can, touch on, how does confidence impact our ability to manifest our desires?
Yeah, it's a great question. So confidence is one of the manifesting qualities that I talk about in my Practical Law of Attraction book. So if you want to learn all about the step-by-step practical way to manifest, I highly encourage you to run over to Amazon and check out my book, Practical Law of Attraction. But, when I was about 18 years old, my mom sent me this self-help book. It was really the first self-help book I ever read. And it was called Total Self-Confidence by Dr. Robert Anthony. And it's a book like it's like the oldest book on my bookshelf, of course, because
Mhm.
it's the first one I ever had. And this
Yeah.
book is like beige, on the inside. It has I looked the other day, the price of this book at the time that she bought it. And this is before, of course, you could buy anything on any digital format.
Right.
This was back in 1986 that she bought this for me. The book was $3.50. And I tell you, for $3.50, it really was a life-changing experience because, of course, it talked all about, it talked about confidence, but it talked about, it was very interesting. It talked about how, we've all been hypnotized. It literally said that, like, the
Mm.
secret number one in this book was dehypnotizing yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it talked about how we've all been hypnotized to believe in these mistaken certainties, these things that, we think are true, but they're not.
Mhm.
And anything that you think about yourself, anything that you think that you're weak in or that you lack or that you're not very good at or you wish you could do, but you're too old, you're too young, you're too whatever, whatever it is, this is something that you've convinced yourself is true, but it's not actually a fact.
Right.
And, so when we have confidence in ourselves, when we're able to dehypnotize ourselves from these limits that we've, just decided are true, we are much, much more likely to take action
Mm.
toward the goals. It's very difficult to take action toward anything if you and find the motivation, to find the focus, to find all of the resources that are needed. If you don't have that belief, that confidence in yourself. And, that confidence just causes you just to exude the energy that attracts that, whatever it is, the abundance, the love, the success, the clients, whatever it is, it creates an aura. When you're around somebody that's confident, don't you just feel like, I don't know, it's like you almost enter a state of confidence right along with them yourself. Like you feel confident in them, you trust them,
Yeah.
that they've got it. And so when you feel that way, you're exuding that energy, and it's just people pick up on that, and that's what's going to carry you through to manifest whatever.
It's such a great point. And you were kind of talking about how we have these kind of limiting beliefs and stuff. And you just reminded me, I've been reading this book, I can't remember what it's exactly, the willpower book or something. It's the power. It's by Darren Hardy. Good book. Willpower Doesn't Work. And it was such good
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And, but what he said, you've read that, you're familiar with it too?
No, but definitely I'm familiar with Willpower Doesn't Work.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just the
exactly, yeah.
concept in and of itself.
Right. Yeah. He talks a lot about environment. But one of the things that he said was that when he started to start publishing books and stuff, a relative actually sent him a message and said something about, don't get too high and mighty. We all know who you really are, or something like that.
Oh.
And it was like, and I was thinking about this because somebody said that to me one time on a Facebook that we were arguing. And it was a guy that I used to know in high school. I don't even call him a friend anymore, really an acquaintance. And had said, I know who you really are. And I'm like, who I really am today has nothing to do with who I was in the past.
Oh, it's so true.
I think that can get in our way too. When we're trying to make changes and we're like, oh yeah, but I'm this, or, I failed before. That's one of the things too we run into, right? That, well, I failed before, so I probably can't do it this time.
Exactly. And, I love what you said, because like who you are is changing every single day. And who you are is changing every single day. And when you meet new people, it would be really interesting to have a person from your past, like maybe, 30 years ago, describe you, and then somebody 20 years
Right.
ago describe you, and 10 years
Right.
ago, and 5 years ago, a year ago, and today. And they probably all have different descriptions of who you are. Like there might be some things that tend to stay the same. I mean, maybe they'll say, oh, she's really nice.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But if they had to really describe your, and give like more detailed descriptions, I would say that they would definitely come up with different answers. But interestingly enough, even though we may come across different, our belief system from the early days can end up kind of staying the same and running our lives and dictating what we're able to achieve, even though we've acquired so many more skills and so much more knowledge, and we have so much more information. A lot of people stay stuck in that person that said that. That's like the conversation that a lot of people are having with their subconscious mind. A lot of their subconscious mind is saying, oh, but you can't do that because this is who you really are.
Right. And so I mean that self-doubt, is so pervasive and can really affect you in so many ways. And if you were to think about self-doubt and fear, how do those affect our ability to manifest our desires?
I mean, it, absolutely just gets, blocks. It's just a complete wall. It just puts up the hard stop that like I'm not going there. And, and it just creates even more negative thought patterns. One negative thought leads to another negative thought. And before you know it, you've talked yourself out of, I mean, if you ever just wanted to do something And whether it's like you're having this conversation with yourself, or maybe you're having this conversation with someone else who has limiting beliefs.
Mm.
And you say, yeah, I'm going to, da da da. And then before you even almost finish the sentence or write down it as a goal, you've like, that's too much work, or no one's going to buy that, or that's not interesting enough, or, whatever it is, it's, I'm not enough. I don't know enough. I can't find enough. I don't have enough money, whatever it is. Before you know it, you've talked yourself out of this great
Mm.
idea, because
Yep.
don't you think, I mean, we get great ideas all the
All
time,
the time. Yep.
but we reject ourselves because of this self-doubt. So we have to, that's like one of the first steps to tapping into this believe to achieve mentality, is you have to make it your goal to like stop yourself, listen to yourself when you get into this negative mindset. You've got to cultivate the positive mindset, which may sound cliche, but it's just absolutely true. I mean, a positive mindset is going to create positive results. And, how do you create that positive mindset is essentially through catching yourself, through
Mm.
catching yourself anytime you find yourself already rejecting, already saying the negative things to yourself. Or even just those times. I mean, I hear people say this all the time, and it's crazy that people still talk to themselves this way, but they'll make a
Mm.
mistake and then they'll say, I'm so stupid,
Oh, yeah,
right? I mean, it drives me
exactly.
nuts when people say that.
Yeah.
Or they'll, maybe they just, oh, I could never do that.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can do
exactly.
that,
Right.
but
Yeah,
I could never do that.
exactly. Yeah. I run
And-
into that especially with people, and you probably have heard this too because you're on stage a lot. Oh, I could never, get in front. Yes, you could. I never would have thought I could either 30 years ago.
Oh,
you know?
I mean, last week, it was literally a week before I was going to be in Florida. It was a week before, not only was I going to be in Florida, but it was a week before the third day of the conference, which was the day I was speaking.
Yeah.
And I was, I was having a breakdown that day, something, of course, it was, app related. Why not?
Right.
And, I'll say this, we've been going through a little bit of more growing pains with getting this done,
Mm.
and more broken agreements. And, I mean, I'm just kind of, it is what it is. And I've just kind of decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to really, for me, for my own sanity, I'm going to I'm going to push this launch date all the way out to July now. Like, that's
Yeah.
just for me. I've kind of told myself a story now just to make it all fit better. Last March, when I hired them, and they told me that it was going to be done in July, I misunderstood them.
Mm.
I totally misunderstood them. I thought they meant July
July.
2022. No, no, July
Right.
2023. And,
Mm.
so they're actually probably going to finish a little bit before
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah, perfect.
right?
Yeah.
So my bad.
Radical responsibility, right? Taking radical
Radical
responsibility.
responsibility.
Right.
Yes. I mean, they didn't actually say
Specify.
2020, 22.
Right.
They did say 5 to 6 months, but forget
Well, yeah.
all that. Forget all
Right.
that. Like
Exactly.
months, schmonths.
Well,
it
assigning blame, as fun as it is, it doesn't do us any good at all.
it
Right?
doesn't.
It
It
just doesn't.
doesn't.
It
Yeah.
just pisses us. It just makes us angrier. So,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
have to also kind of take responsibility because I haven't been completely practicing what I preach, when it comes to holding them in the most high, you know, vision.
regard.
And
Yeah.
I need to, because these
Right.
guys' hands are developing my app. Their energy is
Hmm.
going into my app. So anyway, getting back to overcoming the self-doubt, I was having one of those moments last week where, it's like, oh, because when other people, like, when, this has been going on, I'll just be honest. I'm going to just be totally vulnerable. This
Yeah.
has caused me to feel like, you know, a little bit of a failure. Like,
Mm.
it has
Okay.
caused me to feel like I am failing. And, and so to get up in front of a bunch of people and inspire them when I wasn't feeling inspired at that moment really
Yeah.
felt like that's quite something to be able to I am going to have to make quite the shift between now
Mm.
and then
Uh,
to to be able to command that stage and command an audience when I was feeling pretty beat up and pretty low and pretty frustrated. So anyway, all that to say, it is about, like, just catching yourself in those moments, and instead of beating myself up about it and thinking like the whole power of my whole business is in these guys' hands. No, it's not. I've
yeah.
chosen that. I've chosen that. And there are so many other things that I can offer my people in the meantime that I can focus on other things, other products to create, courses and workshops and all kinds of things. I don't have to wait till this app is done. I don't have to put my life on hold. And, so anyway, um
And can I just say one of those great products is you already have a great app out there. I know
well,
you have this vision because it's going to be so much better, but for the rest of us, it's already a fantastic app. So we have, so I think that that's amazing that you've already got the HypnoCloud app with all these project recordings in it and everything. So
it's so
yeah,
true. It's so
yeah,
true. All of my HypnoCloud subscribers, they tell me that, they say, well,
yeah,
I mean, you already have an amazing app.
right.
They don't know all the disaster that's behind the scenes,
Right.
causing us to not be able to upgrade it and do anything more with it. So,
Yeah.
it's a ticking time bomb, even though it might look like it's, looks great. There's a lot going on that, I've got to get this. I've got to get this new app out. Anyway, don't want to bore too many people with too much more conversation about the app.
um, the and one of the things that I think can be so helpful in this with self-doubt is to surround yourself with people that are people that don't spend most of their time in the positive mindset. Of course, like you're talking about, we all go through those periods.
Hmm.
Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, you're such a failure, and I have no idea why I'm thinking that or something. But I just hang around with people that are just doing things and even
Hmm.
collaborating with them. It just elevates me and it really kind of pushes me forward. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, just having those people that have your back, that know, what you're capable of to help kind of set a new context. And, it is true. Like, your environment is going to support whatever mindset, you're in. So if you're in a positive mindset environment, you're going to grow to the same level as them, and like you're going to grow wherever you're planted. Your seeds are going to grow wherever they're planted. So if you're surrounding yourself in soil that's fertile with positivity and confidence, and people that believe in themselves, and people that are movers and shakers, and have the it factor and are doing things, and they have the shuck and jive, like
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
Rich Guzzi says.
Mhm.
Is he going to be in your stage?
No, he's not.
No,
He's not appearing this weekend. No. Mm.
but then that's the kind of person you're going to emulate. You're not going to just be the only person that's like, you can't keep your negative attitude if you hang around
Right.
with those kind of people. They're not going to put up with it. They're not going to
Yeah.
put up with your negativity. You're going to be turned off or turned on by however they are. And the same thing with the negative environment. If you hang around a bunch of people that are talking about how nasty the things are, and how bad the weather is, and how bad the economy is, and all they want to talk about is politics or war or inflation or whatever, you're going to end up having those conversations. Almost impossible. I mean, I even find myself, if I do interact with people, because we all interact with all kinds of people, but when
Mhm.
you interact with people that don't want to talk about things that are positive, and they want to talk about things that are negative, and it's like, you almost feel like you have to match and be in rapport with them. And
Yeah.
right? You
You
know,
do, and it's like, oh, you think that's bad? You should hear, what about that, and what about that? It's like the I don't want to say the word, it's a something fest. It's a beef fest. It's we're all just going to complain and about this thing, and it just more and more and more. It's contagious.
yeah, people that complain all the time, and like the husband and wife, the husband gets home from work and is like, let me tell you how bad my day was.
Right.
And then so, well, let me tell you about, then it's like you
Right. Mine
almost
was
are in
worse.
competition. You want to top
Right.
that. But if someone's talking about, it's like, let me tell you about all my accomplishments.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, well, look at all the things that I've accomplished. Then you're going to
Yeah.
be looking at, and it's not, not to say that, like, you don't want to say that in an egotistical,
Right. Yeah.
arrogant way. It's like, yeah, look at me. I mean, there's a
Right.
difference between being arrogant and being confident. Just being
Yeah.
confident, and just like, why is it in society that it's not okay? It's okay to beat up on yourself, but it's not okay in a lot of circles. It's not okay to say how great you are. It's
Right.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird to talk about how good of a mood you're in, or how great, like, I mean, people will answer the questions like, how are you doing? It's like, oh, great. But it's like, a lot of
Yeah.
times they don't really mean it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Victoria, what are some myths about self-confidence?
Well, one of the things that a lot of people, feel like, is that, you know, they're not the kind of person that is very confident.
Hmm.
Maybe they just feel like it's something that they just weren't born with it, that, you have to be born having self-confidence. And another thing, and this is why I will share with people all of my little limiting beliefs and my
Hmm.
self-doubts and my fears and my feelings of failure. Like, when you hear that, I am a very confident person. Like, I absolutely know that I will achieve all my goals. And I
Hmm.
know that I mean, it's just, I mean, I've achieved so many goals. How could I not
Right.
be confident? I'm very confident in who I am. I'm very confident about my ability to, anything. Like, I just know I can achieve. But I have my little moments of self doubt, and that's one of the things that I think, you know, we'll dwell on, though, if you're having some kind of self-doubt, that maybe you might feel like that means that you're not very confident, or that, that it doesn't allow for you to have those moments of self-doubt. But every confident person struggles with self-doubt sometimes. You're confident, I
Yeah.
mean, I just saw a video of you speaking in front of like, was like
Oh, right. It
500
was 20,
people in that
20,
audience?
25, 2,500.
2,500. Like, I don't even know
Yeah.
what number that
Right.
is. I mean, that was crazy.
It was incredible. And they were kids, so they were like super loud too, all the way from elementary to what do you call it? High school.
Yeah. Well, you have to be pretty confident to get in front of a group like that. All that to say, right?
Well, and and I wanted to just mention something that when we're talking about that, and so it helps, yeah. And it was pretty scary to think about, but yeah, it really did. But I want to say, are you familiar with Lex Fridman or Friedman? I'm not sure how he pronounces it. He's
Mm-mm.
um he's a podcast guy. He's got a bunch of YouTube videos. Really smart. He's got like an engineering degree, or he's a really smart guy. But he does a lot of different kinds of stuff. Anyways, he's got the blue check mark on Twitter. Anyway, and had it before that was even
Before you
back when
could
it was a
buy
big
it.
deal, right? Yeah. And he had written, and I reposted it. It was something about some days I feel like a failure, and I was like,
Hmm.
wow, this guy who's by all outward appearances is very successful, still wakes up some days and goes, yeah, I feel like a failure.
Yeah.
So
And so there you go. I mean, and I'm sure that you've felt that way at
I have,
times.
there's this every once in a while, and I don't even know why, but I'll just wake up and be like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? You're not going to pull this off, and what's the point? Just all kinds of things.
And I bet you could ask any person. I bet you could ask Oprah Winfrey, Tony
Yeah,
Robbins,
yeah,
Les Brown, any of them. I mean, you
yeah,
could ask any of these people, and they have days when they experience self-doubt. So, the other thing I had mentioned, I kind of alluded to earlier, is like if you're too confident, then that means that you're arrogant.
yeah,
And, I think that confidence is one thing and arrogance is another thing. As a matter of
yeah,
fact, I think arrogance actually comes from lack of confidence, where you're
yeah,
overcompensating for something that you don't feel. And so if you're acting, he's like confidence isn't something that you can act like. Confidence is something that you be. But arrogance comes from trying to act like you have confidence. And so that's how I would distinguish those.
yeah. And I'll tell you, there's I'm familiar with it, in on the stage side of this stage
Yeah.
hypnosis and stuff. There are several out there that are like that, but once you start to understand that they're coming from a place of lack, you kind of go, well, you almost feel sorry for them,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm
Yeah.
so sorry that they feel that way. So yeah,
And then finally, I think, I mean, there's so many myths, but these were the ones that I wanted to dispel.
yeah,
And the other one is that you have to be extroverted to be
yeah,
confident. You got to be super outgoing. And just, being outgoing, being outgoing doesn't mean you're confident.
yeah,
And not being outgoing doesn't mean that you're not confident or outgoing, extroverted. I mean, so I I think I'm like an introvert that acts like an extrovert. I
same here.
like, yeah, I like getting on stage. I like performing. I like speaking. I like putting myself out there, but I am technically very introverted. It takes a lot for me to get in front of a group of people. I have to psych myself up,
Mhm.
to be able to do all of that. And yet I'm very confident. But an introverted person is just somebody who recharges on their own. And
Yeah,
I tend to like, and an extroverted person, recharges, they get their energy from being around other people. And so I'm pretty much completely the opposite. Like if I'm around people too long, I actually
Yeah.
start to like get drained and I just get over it very fast. And I mean, I like being around people. It's just that I have a boundary. I just have a limit
Right.
because it just drains me. And I just need to, um, I just need to go within and go to, get some quiet.
Right. Yes.
I need quiet. I love quiet.
That's why
Um,
I've learned to kind of pace myself at conferences now, because and I will be kind of choosy about what I do with my time, so that I make sure that by Sunday afternoon I'm not just spent. If there's something I really want to see on Sunday afternoon, for instance, if I've just spent the whole time hanging out with people, I'm probably going to go back to my room and just chill for the rest of the day on Sunday, as
yeah.
opposed to like picking and choosing. That's helped me a lot. And you know what you said too, I want to go back to. Um, I was not born confident. I was not born with willpower. I was not born with, I was, being out. I mean, I'm the same. I'm very introverted, but I can pretend to be an extrovert. And you can change, folks. You really, really can.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can be anything that you want to be, and you can increase your confidence. You know, and so we're going to talk about we're going to talk about some things that are
Yeah,
going
we're going to talk
to,
about
yeah.
some common signs of low self confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you know if you are confident? Maybe you're sitting there asking yourself, well, am I confident? Yeah, some of these things sound like me. Some of these things, I'm not sure if I have it or not. And so one of the things you can look at is like, do you suffer from low self-confidence? And just a few things is like, how do you talk to yourself? Like what kinds of things do you say to yourself? Are you constantly nagging at yourself, criticizing yourself, looking in the mirror saying, I don't look very pretty, or I don't look very I'm not very handsome or good looking, or not very smart, blah blah blah. What is your self-talk like? And do you tend to avoid, you know, like beyond being an introvert that, you kind of like having your downtime and your me time, but beyond that, like, are you just totally avoiding going out in public at all? Like, do you just avoid the whole social aspect? Do you avoid any kind of new challenges? Do you avoid change? So what are you avoiding? And so that could be a sign that you have to work on your level of confidence. And then the other thing is just depending on other people to tell you that you're good, or that you're smart, or that you look a certain way or whatever. If you're dependent on your validation from other people and you're not giving yourself that validation, then that would be another sign that it's, something you need to work on.
Absolutely. And how does social media affect self confidence, do you think?
Social media is crazy, and I think honestly, social media gives a lot of people one or two things. It can go one or two ways. It could either give you a boost to your ego, which is not essentially your self-confidence,
Mhm.
because ultimately, we spend a lot of time comparing ourselves. We see most people are posting their best pictures of their best days and their best
Right.
experiences and their clean house, and they're not posting the things that they don't want people to see, obviously,
Mhm.
because people are posting by choice. And
Yeah.
so you're looking at your whole life, and you're comparing your whole life to someone's best top fraction of their
Right.
life. And you're
Yeah.
saying, God, I don't have that. And you make up a story about how this person feels about themselves and how they live their life. You don't know anything about that person. You only know about a few pictures and a few videos that they might post when they're at their best.
Right.
And so, it really, I think, weighs heavily on a lot of people's. I have no objections to people posting that way. It's just that you have to monitor what are, the whole self comparison thing. And so I think it can lead to people having this need to compare themselves. And comparison is really the worst thing that you can do for your self confidence and your self esteem, because it works the other way too. So when whether you're comparing people who you perceive as having a better life experience than you, or you compare yourself to people who you perceive you are better than, if you're judging yourself and saying, oh, well, I'm doing so much better than this person, you're still
Yeah.
playing that same game.
Yeah.
And as long as you play the comparison and the judgment game, there's always going to be someone even, better than you.
Totally.
And so the whole thing is you got to just like live your life and stop comparing yourself, and just limit yourself to the things that cause you to feel, bad. Or when somebody negatively comments, I mean, we as leaders, who put ourselves out there and make content for people,
Yeah.
um, and then some people like to poop all over our content and say,
Right.
oh, somebody told me once about this podcast, that um I say too much, or or something like that. It's like,
Oh, God. They're missing the point. Wow.
let's hear your podcasts,
Right.
okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not out here to be perfect,
Yeah.
and I never will be. No one ever will be. And if you allow that stuff, and I did let that kind of impact me a little bit at that time. It's easy to just kind of get caught up. You just have to remember. It's like, one of the things I just remember is like, well, you know what? I'm putting myself out there, and
Exactly.
and most of the time, people are trying to please other people, the people who um are like not doing, like, what is it that I was trying to say, that you're trying to please people who are actually they're actually more afraid of putting themselves out there, you
Yep.
know and so all that person can do is poop over your stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
So
I
don't
mean,
listen to them, like literally, like don't listen to anybody who has anything negative to say. If you hire them to be your
sure.
coach and to
Yeah.
hold up a mirror, if you ask them for their opinion, and you're doing so as a way to improve yourself, then you can accept the feedback, and they're going to give constructive feedback on ways that you can improve that as well. But people who just want to you know poop all
Right.
over your content or whatever, um they're not they're not they're not for you, and it's not helpful, and there's no reason why you should ever buy into any of that or listen to them. So you have to set boundaries for yourself, on what you're going to take in, what you're going to allow yourself to absorb into your psyche. And on a positive note, and I don't want to say it's all negative, on a positive note, it can have a very positive impact because it allows you a venue and an outlet to express yourself in a positive way and to work on
Totally.
yourself. I think that's one of the coolest things. Like, when before did we ever have an opportunity where we could challenge ourselves to go live in front of a live audience without actually having to walk out the door, and
Right.
and to group people so that you can actually have an audience of people. You can have an audience at at your beck and call, at will, that you can
Yeah.
speak in front of and that you can inspire. And by doing that, that's gonna boost your self-confidence. Even if they're just neutral, even if they said nothing positive, nothing negative, just by you doing that and expressing your truth, you're able to build some self-confidence. And so it can have both effects on you.
I like to say too, what I've noticed as far as like on YouTube videos, when somebody comments something crappy on a YouTube video that I've done, which I've had people complain about the tie that I was wearing. It's ridiculous.
Silly.
You think, it's a really good message, but the tie, yeah, that sucks. But if you'll click over onto their profile, 90% of the time they have no content. So these are people that are they're consumers, they're not creators. And so what do we care? What do we care about what they think? You know what I mean?
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that I do now. Somebody on YouTube or whatever will comment something negative. It's like, what are you doing with, what are you doing to contribute to the world? Nothing.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
what you have to say means nothing.
Exactly. And it's not Victoria Gallagher that's doing that. It's not Richard Nongard that's staying up at 3 a.m. to watch your videos and complain. It's nobody who you respect. So
no.
they're busy.
So why give them any
right.
Yeah. They don't deserve any space in your head whatsoever.
I to this next section is one of my favorite areas. It's something that I practiced consciously to get to improve my confidence. Can you talk about how body language affects your confidence?
Oh my God, body language is amazing. And just like as I said that, like I just wanted to sit up a little taller.
Right.
Because the way that you feel has so much to do with your physiology. I mean, if you are talking about your day and you're looking down and you got a frown on your face and you've got your arms crossed or you're slouching down, that's going to bring you down much, much more. And and also just making that connection with somebody when you're looking at them, I'm trying to look at you in your eyes, but
right.
that's a one thing that's very hard to do when you're on Zoom, because like really this is your eye, but it's not really your eye. But making that eye contact when you're face to face with somebody, it's like you kind of like leave your whole physical realm and you kind of go into your soul realm, and you make this soul connection and you get to the heart of who you really, really are, which is a spirit, which is connected, which is part of the universe. And there's no reason for anyone to feel a lack of confidence, because like we're all one, like we're all the same one energy. But anyway, getting into the whole body language, it's like the more expressive you are with your gestures, the more you stand up tall, if you look up, if you sit up, if you smile, even, I mean, just smiling, even when you don't feel bad, when you don't feel good and you feel bad and you just like smile, which is hard to do when you don't feel like it, but it does something. It actually sends a message to your subconscious mind that you're happy, even if you don't necessarily feel that way. And then it will send you happy thoughts that will match the body language. So all of the body language stuff, you stand up, put your, get your arms into power pose, and and stand and just feel, your power. And breathing is just even another form of body language in a way, just taking deep breaths usually. Um, some of the reasons why we don't feel so powerful or positive or confident could be just because we're taking shallow breaths. It could be because we're dehydrated, and we need oxygen in our body, and there's so many ways to make yourself feel confident. Body language is just one of them. Just being more open, opening your hands rather than closing, opening your arms rather than, being, closed. Everything, is open and expressive and expansive, and that is going to inform the brain that you're super confident.
Nice. And truly, this is one of the techniques that I used to boost my confidence, and it creates this circular thing. You just end up standing up taller. You feel more confident. When you feel more confident, you stand up taller, and it just keeps going. So it's
Yeah.
great tips for us. And it's
Definitely.
easy. You don't have to even you don't have to change your thinking or win an award or anything. You can just start feeling better.
You can, absolutely. And then when you start feeling better and changing your thinking, then you will win awards.
Exactly. So what else can we do besides what we've already talked about? What else can we do to build our self-confidence?
Well, a few other things, and I talk about this, when it comes to like gratitude and like, winning that award. So speaking of winning that award, I mean, there are things that are like that in our life that we have done, that, we have gone so far, and we've achieved certain things in our lives. And so look at where you are. Like look at the successes and the accomplishments and the achievements that you do have. And for some people, it may be a whole bunch of things that they never really think about. Every once in a while, I forget, like all of the great things that I've accomplished. Believe it or not, like on those lousy days when I'm beating myself up because whatever, like I haven't done enough, or I haven't, then I'll like look and it's like, oh yeah, I did run that marathon. Well, it wasn't one marathon, it was like 5 and plus 5, you know. Um, I did put together that Fearless Kitty 5K, and raise a bunch of money for charity. Oh yeah, I did win a bunch of Toastmasters awards. Oh, I actually got this award and I got that award, and I'm married. We're going to be celebrating our 15-year anniversary, and and I just got to be the keynote speaker, and I've got this great app, and I've written 4 best-selling books, and I've got a podcast, and before you know it, it's like, holy wow, I'm Victoria Gallagher. This is kind of cool. And, you may not have written 4 books and have done keynote speeches, but you've done something like that. There's something in your life, that if you just sit down and you just write, everything always starts with sit down. You can stand up if you want. I always have to sit down. If I just need to sit down and do this. I don't know why I have to sit down though. I have a stand-up desk. I could stand up.
Right.
But anyway, you can take out a pen and paper and you can write down the things that you're proud of. And you may have to go back in time to start the process, but before you know it, this process becomes very contagious, and you actually do start to think about all of your accomplishments and your achievements. And so that's one thing, just celebrating those, just giving yourself a little love for that. The other way I believe we can all starting at a neutral place, no matter what kind of achievements you have or don't have, you can still practice self-compassion. You can still practice self-care. And the better you treat yourself, the better you're going to start to feel about yourself. Like, what kind of a evening bedtime ritual do you have where you really just take care of yourself and you really honor yourself and you really just like, I mean, for me, I like to put all my fancy lotions on and toner and kind of massage my face a little bit and do my tooth floss. I have a crazy tooth routine with the flossing, the water pick and the toothbrushing. But it's paying off because my last dental visit, I didn't have, as many fives. I had a couple little deep pockets that, gums, and that self-care is really paying off. So whatever way you take care of yourself, get yourself a nice cozy pair of pajamas and slippers and something that makes you feel luxurious. And maybe I might be speaking more to a feminine side, whatever it is, I mean, maybe for the men, I don't know, maybe you have some self-care rituals that you practice, Jan. What kind of self-care do you partake in?
Hot dogs and beer.
Yeah, there you go.
Treat
There you
myself to some
go.
hot dog. No, as you were saying that,
Pizza with no
I
pineapple.
right, exactly, people. I'll tell you, it's funny, but for me, the self-care is if when I in the morning, and the more of these things I get done, the better I feel. It's when I go for my walk or do some kind of exercise, when I
Yes.
meditate, when I read, my self-help book, and then when I write. If I do all four of those things, man, it's like I took a bubble bath, I think. I think that's how some people might feel when they take a bubble bath.
Yeah, no, all of those things, all those, it's amazing. So, and then the other, to me, this is probably the key, the biggest secret. I saved it for last. And that is really setting, and achieving like small achievable goals. Because and that was one of the things that the book Total Self-Confidence taught me to do,
Mhm,
was to make a list of 10 things that I would do every day. And this
mm,
whole process of, and when you make this list, you got to be careful because this list can really backfire if you don't check all these things off. If you set yourself up to fail, and then every day you're going through and you're only getting 2 or 3 things checked off your list, then you're going to actually have the opposite effect. So when you make this list, like, be sure to be realistic with yourself. Set the most infinitesimally small goals to check off, even if it
mhm,
means take a walk for 10 minutes, meditate for 5 minutes, brush your teeth, make coffee, feed the cats.
mhm.
Maybe one more additional thing that you don't do every day. Like, don't make the exact same goals every day. Put a couple of new things on your list, but make them small and achievable. Not something, don't put, you know, um, five 5-hour tasks on there. You're not going to get those all done. It's just not possible. And so, to me, that's like one of the best ways, because what it represents is the power of your word, keeping your word to yourself. When you set out to have an intention that this is the way my day is going to go, and then you live your day according to the way that your day is going to go, then that's going to set you up for, this is the way my week's going to go. This is the way my month is going to go. And this is the way my year is going to go. And then when you tell yourself that I'm going to get that new job, I'm going to get that raise, I'm going to start a new business, I'm going to have a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 month, whatever it is, when you tell yourself that, it's much, much more likely in your mind that you're going to do that because you're in the habit of achieving goals. And that's just who you are. You're someone who achieves all your goals, but set small, achievable goals, take actions toward them, and do it, and live your life that way, and you'll develop confidence by uh, taking care of yourself, setting those goals, and always keeping your word with yourself.
Sounds good. Thanks for the help in explaining all this to us, Victoria. It's good chatting with you as always.
Yeah. Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. And well, thank you guys. Thank you, Jim, for being here. And thank you, audience, for tuning in to another fantastic episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. Hope you found it informative and inspiring. And please share this podcast with your friends, with your family. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and tune in next week for another inspiring episode. And until then, keep using the power of your mind to reach your goals and live your best life of abundance and joy. Bye now.